The last one, which I already touched on briefly as well, is labor shortage. Currently, Canada needs a lot of people. There are so many jobs in demand right now. Once you are into healthcare, whether it's medical, whether it's nurses, whether it's pharmacists, whether it's even carers, so many demands for you. You can tap into any of this provincial pathway. If you're in Saskatchewan, you can come into Saskatchewan. If you have a family member here, if you're in Manitoba, if you have a friend there, you can, you know, go through the provincial nomination route. There's so many routes for you, and they are clear, they are transparent, they are consistent. There's someone that told me recently, know your why. Once you know your why, nobody will be able to shake you left and right or left and center. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Yemisi. If you're seeing my face for the very first time, kindly subscribe to the channel. Basically, I make videos about settling into Canada as an international student, but I would not even box myself to say I make only videos for international students, because even though I was an international student, right now I am done with school and I'm currently sharing my life post-study and everything that you need to know, whether you're coming in as a permanent resident or you're coming in as a student. The videos on the channel will be very helpful for you. So I'm sure you guys have seen the title of this particular video. I should have made this video a very long time. You know, I've seen a lot of people make videos about people are leaving Canada. Why are people leaving Canada? And I feel like it has gotten a lot of people to start thinking about whether or not to still move to Canada. Is Canada still worth relocating to? I decided to make a couple of points here for you to note, you know, just in case you've been part of those people thinking about this. Okay, just to kind of paint a little picture for you guys. I was going online and I realized that between July 1, 2021 and June 30, 2022, approximately 49,770 people emigrated from Canada to another country. This might not sound like a very huge figure, but try to understand that the whole of Canada, we are about 30 something to 40 million people. That's the whole of Canada, and the landmass is so wide. So when 49,000 people leave Canada for another country, is quite significant. So that's something that you should note. I've seen a lot of people, you know, complaining about grocery prices. I am one of those people that have been complaining about grocery prices because it skyrocketed like this. I know that some stores like No Frills had to send a message at some point in December last year saying they're going to fix some prices and not change them until the end of January or February 2023, and they kind of did that. So a lot of the prices online were fixed, they didn't touch it. That's because people started complaining, like things that we're going to buy, and you know, you kind of buy like a big bag for like $100 to $150, you now buy it for like almost ×2 because there is so much hike in the prices. Another thing is access to emergency in healthcare is very low. People have also been complaining about that. I mean, it started all from COVID era where people were complaining about the healthcare system being too overburdened, and you know, right now because of the number of people coming in and all of that, like there's so much issues going on around the healthcare system in all provinces. And if you guys have seen the latest news, I mean the one that came out in April also, the number of people working in the public sector, some particular companies, will I call them companies? I call them government agencies, for example IRCC and some other ones, I think CRA and the likes. A couple of them, you know, came out to protest that they wanted to stay back home and whatnot. You know, there's just been a lot of issues going on in Canada at the moment. Inflation is everywhere. Mortgage prices, you guys, mortgage prices is so high. So I know I've not really talked about this before on my channel, and you know, I wanted to keep it as a secret, sort of. My housemate and I decided I wanted to move away from this current apartment because I mean, I was done schooling and I thought about like post-study. I wanted to stay in a place that is more convenient. Trust me when I say, for the past 4 months I've been looking for apartments and we've not seen. Is it that we're seeing something like an amount that we can go for, but the environment is not all that? And because I don't currently drive, you know, I was looking for something that will probably be accessible to a bus stop. And the current place where we stay, we got an information from the property manager saying that the lease will be going up at the end of our lease agreement. So all of that has just been going on. People that are buying houses, they've also been complaining. I recently saw a CTV news link. I shared it with a couple of friends, and they were speculating that the mortgage price might be increasing by 40%. Yes, so that's for me to like paint the picture of what is currently happening in the country and why you'd see a lot of people making videos about, do I leave Canada? Is Canada still worth migrating to, or do I even want to stay back here for those people that are already here and the likes? But in this video I am going to share a couple of points or tips or whatever for you to be able to consider before you make that big move to Canada. Okay, so if you are one of those people living in like countries where things are stable, things are working all right, like to me, I feel like you might not want to come to the country, to Canada, because at the end of the day, if your currency is about the same amount with Canada and your social system, your healthcare system, your economic system, everything is like the same thing with your country right now, it may not be, you know, a reasonable move for you. But if you're coming from developing countries whereby access to food, basic amenities, employment and all of that are kind of like a struggle for you, I would say that you should listen to me while I share all the points in this video. Okay, I forgot to also mention that some people were also considering the fact that if the place is too cold, you know, the weather is usually cold, so if the place is too cold for me and you know all of these things that keeps coming up, like, do you guys think that is still a reasonable move? Just hang in there, I have some couple of points for you. I'm going to share some tips first before I move to like some of the points that you might have to consider. I always tell people on the channel, if you are new, you might not know this, but for the OGs on the channel, you guys know how much I preach that if you're coming to Canada, I know very well that you are not buoyant or your finances is not all that. Try to look for schools that are in smaller provinces, like smaller cities, to come study. Okay, and this is not like to say, oh, don't go to the bigger cities, but they're already populated enough. You know, go to smaller cities where the cost of living is not too much and it's manageable for you. Okay, so this is something that I always preach on the channel, because even right now we see a lot of migration from the bigger cities to the smaller cities. Yes, a lot of people now see the smaller cities as where they want to go to, because even those smaller cities and smaller provinces are now doing provincial nomination pathway that is like very easy for people to come down to the province to settle. Also try to avoid unnecessary spending, because let's just look at this, and this is not to even shade anyone. For those people that have been making videos about, I want to go back to my home country, Canada is not all that, like a lot of them have not gone though. Just look at, like, a lot of them are still here. So when you try to avoid unnecessary spending, trust me, you're gonna be all right. Like at first, especially as a student, when I was studying, I had a part-time job that was paying my bills. I was not having savings, of course. Like it's something you have to prepare your mind for. When you're coming in as a student, you know that you'll be using your part-time job to offset your expenses, your living costs and all of that, especially if you know that you don't really want to like be asking money from your home country. So that was how I was able to survive, and I survived. My friends, they also survived. So here we are, post-study, and of course like a couple of people have gotten jobs already. Yeah, so once you avoid unnecessary spending, you'll be all right. Okay, you'll be very, very all right. This is me speaking from the lens of an international student that paid huge money in Canada and is still here post-study, and I can tell you for sure, like from the lens of an insider, an immigrant like you that is a prospective immigrant, that Canada is still worth coming over. Okay, also buy things from thrift stores. It could be clothes, it could be shoes, it could be furnitures. Try to buy from thrift stores. Not even that alone, when you want to do your grocery shopping, you can get membership cards from Costco Wholesale Club, where you can use your membership card to have like access to wholesale items for less. That's some of the ways that people try to reduce their expenses. And for those that are Africans like myself, you just try to know a couple of people so that when they are sharing, you know, peppers, tomatoes, fish, chicken, whatever from the farm, you are there as well to take your portion, and you pay very low compared to what you will get in stores. So all of those things are worth knowing, especially when you're coming to a new province. I made a video before about buying bulk meat and stuff from the farm. I'll link it up here for you guys to go watch it. That's for those people coming to Saskatchewan. You can as well try to find whatever works for you in the province that you are heading to. Coming to the obvious question, is Canada still worth relocating to currently, or with the whole brouhaha that is going on or whatever? It's a very deep question. It's something that the answer would definitely vary from person to person, from case to case, just because like I mentioned earlier, it's possible that you're coming from some of those countries where the system is working perfectly, and you probably just, you know, migrated because you want to migrate. You probably just wanted a Canadian education, or you probably just wanted to like relocate and just see life in a different perspective, which is what a lot of people do anyway. I mean, even back in my country, Nigeria, people have been traveling to USA, UK for the longest time. Like even when our forefathers were alive, they go abroad to go study. So it's not a new thing. It's just that currently it's now like making waves and people are traveling a lot or migrating a lot. So number one thing that you need to consider, quality of living. As at 2022, and this is according to US News and World Report, Canada ranks in 3rd place globally for the best quality of life. So yeah, there could be a lot of mishaps going on in the country, but every country has their own downside or has their own challenges as well. But at the same time, do you still have access to basic amenities? Are you still able to afford the basic things? You know, those are the kind of things that I personally feel like you should look at before you relocate to a country. I'm not going to try to talk down on any country right now, but Canada is still one of those countries that when I wanted to come in and I was asking a lot of questions for people that are already here, you know, everybody was giving me so many pros and so many cons, but the pros outweighed the cons, and that was another thing that I looked at. They all made me know that when you're coming in as a student, the first 2 years, especially if you're coming for a master's program like me for 2 years, the first 2 years, you know, it's going to be a bit rough for you. And that was exactly how I saw everything. But they said that there are so many opportunities and just open your mind to them, and that was what I did. When I came in, I made sure that I tapped into some of the opportunities. I made sure that even while I was in school, I got the internship opportunity. I made sure that even while I was in school, I applied for summer jobs and got one, you know. So all of those things are things that you can have access to. Aside that, just the quality of people that you tend to meet, you know, just all of those things are things that you look at and you just understand that at the end of the day, like if in my current country where I reside, I am not able to get this and I have enough finances to relocate, then this might be a place for me to go to. For me, that's like one of the things I looked at, and that was why I chose the country, and it's never been a regret ever since. The second one is Canadian education. If you get a Canadian education, you can work anywhere. You don't have to do WES, World Education Service. You don't have to do ICAS. Like, you don't have to start evaluating your certificate or your degree. Once your certificate already shows that you graduated from a Canadian college or university or school in general, you can work anywhere. That's another thing. Canada ranks as one of the best countries. You want to get like quality education or whatever. Like, this is a country that you can look at. Of course, there are other countries. There's USA, there's UK, there are a couple of them, but I'm just telling you from an insider perspective that it is one of those places that you can make as your destination if you want to have one of the best quality of education in the world. Language. If you speak English, if you speak French, you are welcomed in Canada because it's a bilingual country. They speak English, they speak French. In fact, if you know how to speak the two, you are going to be a hot cake, because there are some jobs that pay a lot higher just because you are bilingual. That's something else I want to look at. I mean, if you go across the world, English and French are two languages that you can speak across the world, that is prominent across the world, and I stand to be corrected. So if you can speak those two languages, you'll be able to communicate easily. Personally, I feel like I don't want to go to a country where I'm unable to communicate with them and all of that. I have a friend that is in Finland, and she was telling me about her experience there. Like, getting a job there is not all that easy, especially if you don't understand Finnish. That already is like a barrier for me. So if I'm coming from my country where the official language is English amongst the other languages that we speak in the country, you know, going to that country, I will struggle. So that's another reason why you probably want to consider coming to Canada despite all of these things happening. Another thing is clear pathway to permanent residency and citizenship. So over the years, it's been very clear from the beginning. It has been consistent. It's transparent. Like, if you want to come into Canada as a permanent resident, you either go through the express entry route or you come in through the provincial nomination pathway. It has been like that, and it's been consistent. There's no changing policies here and there every day or whatever. And if you're coming in as a student, this is how to come in. If you end up coming in as a student and you're done with your program, if you want to stay back, you have options options of either going through the express entry route, or going through the Canadian experience class, or going through the international foreign trade experience or something. I'll put it on the screen for you guys. So it's like very, very clear pathway for you. So there is no policy that is changing. Instead, policies are being introduced time to time, especially to suit the situation. For example, a lot of people last year, due to COVID, their postgraduate work permits were not approved, and some were stuck because they could not apply for express entry, so their postgraduate work permits got expired. But guess what? The Minister of Immigration came in to extend the postgraduate work for 18 months. So news like that comes in from time to time. 2021, when I landed as a student, 2 or 3 months after I landed, there was a policy that had this TR to PR, that is temporary residency to permanent residency, and all you needed was IELTS or CELPIP of band 5. Those are some of the perks that you also get. And a lot of students that were working the care job or working in like sectors where they were customer facing, people that risked their lives during COVID, they all got approved, especially if you have like all your documentation. So those are some of the things that you might want to consider if you want to relocate to Canada. I know I touched on this a little bit, but I also put in here that, is your country better compared to Canada in terms of like access to jobs, good health care, security, better economy, etc.? If that's your case, for sure you might want to stay back in your country, or you might want to emigrate from Canada if you are here. But if you know that access to jobs is like almost a no-no, you know that the economy is not good, if you know that when you finish school employment is like almost blur, and you probably have to start becoming self-employed or moving to other sectors instead of like focusing on the career path that you have initially prepared for your life, those kind of things are things that you also look at. I currently graduated from the University of Saskatchewan and I studied masters in public administration, and right now a lot of my friends are working in the public sector. If you are in Canada and you studied this program and you want to go for something else, it's almost impossible, because they'll start asking for experience from that field that you had studied in, either work experience or having a certificate in it. So 80% or 85% or even 100% of the time you are going for exactly what you studied. So that's another thing that you want to consider, because I don't think that it makes sense for you to go study in, you know, some of these other countries, and after paying huge sum of money, then you end up working menial jobs. You know, those are things that breaks my heart, and I'm like, wow, like if you are coming from a developing country and probably thinking about you don't want to come to Canada because you are hearing negative news on the media, I'm here to tell you that you're probably making a wrong decision for yourself. And if you're coming from a developed country and you know all of these things get to you and you're like you don't want to come to the country, it's all right. Another one which is somewhat tied to the other points that I made is employability. As a student, part-time jobs are feasible, very, very feasible. Although there are seasonal jobs during summer, a lot of jobs are out there, like they want you to come fill in positions and the likes. But generally, even if you come in during winter, even if you come in during spring, fall and summer, you would always get part-time jobs for yourself. It might not be the first month you landed, it might not be the second month. When I came in, I think I got my job 4, 5, 6 weeks after I landed. I think it was 4, 5 weeks after I landed. That's why when you're coming in, just make sure to have your funds available. And 4, 5, 6 weeks after you landed is not ridiculous in my opinion, because you're coming to a new country. Like, what do you expect? So people don't even get jobs until like the second or third month. If you have access to employment even as a student, and you can be working and fending for yourself even as a student, then I don't know what else you are looking for. And let me tell you something, I see a lot of people comment on, you know, when you make an immigration video, there are some people that just, you know, sound very racist, and they come in the comment section to say go back to your country, whatever. And some will say, oh, the country is using you and blah blah blah. But I find that at the end of the day, myself and the citizens in Canada, we are all working and we are all being taxed. Taxes are huge, but they're not taxing only the immigrants, they're taxing everyone, but the citizens and the immigrants. And you know, there's always going to be a little savings for you if you spend within your means. So that's also something that I wanted to touch on. Scholarship opportunities. I know that there are a lot of opportunities in the USA, in European countries. Canada is one of those countries where they have so many opportunities, especially if you are going for research-based courses. I hosted a friend on the channel. She came in as a scholarship recipient. She is currently studying masters in law at the University of Saskatchewan, and she came in on scholarship. I've seen people that have come in on scholarship, especially for research-based courses. Once it's a research-based course, you'll most likely be getting scholarship. They pump money into their education system, whether at the provincial level, at the federal level, whether it's university, polytechnic colleges. They always invest a lot on education. So if you are the type that loves research, why not come to the country and you would be part of the recipients for scholarship? So those are some of the things that you want to look at as well. There are scholarship opportunities for you. The last one, which I already touched on briefly as well, is labor shortage. Currently, Canada needs a lot of people. I've said it in different videos. The baby boomers population is currently outweighing the number of employable people and working population in the country. So there's so many jobs in demand right now. Once you are into healthcare, whether it's medical, whether it's nurses, whether it's pharmacists, whether it's even carers, so many demands for you. And even IT policy, mental health, you know, all of those things are very much in demand. So if you have any of those skills, please just come to the country. Canada needs people. Okay, Canada needs people. The country is very big. I think the plan for this year, no, not this year, I think from 2022 to 2025 is to bring in 400,000 people, right? If I'm not mistaken, I think that was the goal by 2025, to have brought in about 400,000 people. So you can be part of those people as well. That has already letting you know how much they need people, and you can tap into any of these provincial pathway. If you're in Saskatchewan, you can come into Saskatchewan. If you have a family member here, if you're in Manitoba, if you have a friend there, you can, you know, go through the provincial nomination route. There's so many routes for you, and they are clear, they are transparent, they are consistent. I think that's one of the things that thrills me the most. Ever since I've been hearing about Canada immigration, it's been consistent over the years. The only thing they do is to add more information, to maybe to open it up more to other people. Like what they did this year, it came up with another kind of pathway for people that are refugees. So that's like what they do, unlike just waking up tomorrow and telling you dependents cannot accompany the principal applicant. Like all of those things, there are things that you would not, like, they're not part of the Canadian immigration process. So yeah, I hope that this video, although it sounds a bit controversial or whatnot, but I hope that you guys get what I'm saying in this video. And I'm sorry, I will not tell you outrightly that you should come to Canada or Canada is what relocating for you, even though I've kind of said it a little bit in the video. But I want you to just make up your mind, especially after hearing all of these points that I've given, all the tips that I've given. And because I'm here in Canada and I'm telling you things from like an insider lens, an insider perspective, so I hope that you're able to make your decision, and I hope that it's not a wrong decision for you. Mind you, even though Canada is somewhere that, you know, a lot of people are trying to pursue, I'll personally tell you that everybody's case is different. So there are some people in Canada that are also struggling. Okay, there are people that are also struggling. So for me, I would say get the right information before you immigrate. Do not just rule out yourself. Some people will tell me, MC, Canada is so difficult, the process is too tedious. But I keep telling them that it will not make sense to you until when you land in Canada. I was part of those people that were saying, what's even wrong with Canada? You know, I was rejected the first time, and if you've not seen the video, I'll also leave it up here. I was rejected the first time and I almost gave up on the process, because I was like, UK, I got admissions, like 5 or 6 admissions at the time. So what's with this Canada? But when you come in, you'd be able to see, you know, some of the reasons why it looks difficult from the outside. It's because they're trying to bring in skilled people that can work, or people that will be able to add to the economy and all. And it's a symbiotic relationship. You are coming to the country to give them money, they are also providing basic amenities, all of that stuff for you. So I personally do not see anything wrong with that, although I also understand, like, I'm not undermining other people's challenges and everything. No, that's not what I'm doing. I'm just saying that I personally understand where people are coming from, but at the same time, you don't rule out yourself from making some decisions, especially when you're outside. So yes, people can be making videos about, oh, they're trying to leave Canada and whatever, but try to ask them why. Okay, their own why might be different from your own why. which is your own why of relocating to the country. There's someone that told me recently, know your why. Once you know your why, nobody will be able to shake you left and right or left and center. So that's all that I'm going to share in this video. I feel like I've never made a video this long before and I hope that you're able to take away some things from this video. Let me know other questions you have in the comment section, and if you are an immigrant here in Canada, I would love to also hear your perspective on this particular area of conversation. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.